Welcome back, guys. It's another week. We left you off where we got the steering knuckle back on. We have the ball joints installed and everything's torqued to spec, looking nice and fresh. Tonight I'm gonna try to work on getting the U-joints for the axle shaft, or the U-joint for the axle shaft replaced. This one here is pretty toast. So we're gonna get this replaced and all buttoned back up, so that way I can get the hub and the rotor and everything back together and get this side done. And then I think I'm gonna drop the steering and then disassemble the passenger side. Let's see how far I can get tonight. And the truck's been sitting here, and I've noticed pretty decent amount of oil leaking out from underneath the truck. Not gonna really look into that just yet. There's other projects to be handling, which is fine. All right, now that I have the axle shaft here in the vise, shouldn't go anywhere. I'm gonna start working on pulling this U-joint apart. There's gonna be some C-clips around each end of the ears here on the yoke. If I can get this to focus. You can see a nice fusion of rust with these C-clips and the caps for these U-joints. So I'm working on one right now. This one should pop out after a couple more hammer taps. I'll work on this guy and then start working on getting these caps out, and then hopefully get this U-joint out. These things are just as tight as, if not maybe a little bit more than the ball joints were. It's going underneath a lot of tension. I'm just tapping the ear here and breaking that tension a little bit, but it's pushing out. I got penetrating oil on everything right now. As you can see, I separated the half shaft, and well, this is all that was left. And these are both the caps here, and as you can see, this one was broken with no roller bearings in it. And this one is the one I was explaining earlier about how the cap blew out just because it was sitting on the lip here of this, and the end of the U-joint actually pressed out and broke the cap. As you can probably hear, there are absolutely no needle bearings left, so they've all left the chat. Honestly, the condition of the U-joint itself doesn't look bad. It just feels like there's lack of grease and all the pins kind of disintegrated. And here's the caps here. The other one fell right out, and gonna clean these suckers up, and then we'll get the new U-joint pressed in. Luna in the shop tonight, guys. She's just giving me all the company and handing all the tools to me. She's just being a good girl. We now have the entire assembly put together. This was a little bit of a fight, trying to get that little millimeter or two of space just to get those retaining clips in, but a little bit of some 4-pound hammer action and some pressing with the ball joint press, and even had to use big guns just to squeeze it in just a little bit. I think on this ear here, I bent it in just a little bit before I realized it, and I didn't use the impact until like the very end. So I think it was when I was using the cheat bar and the breaker bar. I must have folded that ear in just a hair, but I was able to kind of push everything back in together, and everything's clipped. There's no cut corners. The fitting is very tight. This is how it should be. As you can tell, there's no more slop. There's no more noise. So there's not a lot of slop anymore. I took the grease gun from over here and just shot some grease into the grease fitting, just to keep everything lubed up. So next step is to show you something cool that Harley ordered that's going to benefit us greatly while we're working on vehicles. And it's in that box. So stay tuned. I'm going to do a little unboxing video. Let's just do it right now. There's no need to cut. Boom! Voila! We got ourselves a little sharp stool. We're going to throw this together so that way I can sit close to the ground. Install that new and rebuilt axle shaft. We'll get that back in. We'll get our hub put back. We'll put our spindle back on. We're going to reassemble our hub. We're going to get everything put back tonight. Also, forgot to mention, we're going to pull out that bearing seal. We're going to pull the bearing out, repack it full of grease, and then I'm going to pack in this new bearing with grease as well. That's something I forgot to mention. I'm not sure if I said it in an earlier clip, but if you're hearing it again, it's only because I forgot. Send it.
I haven't heard that you miss me. Did you mean it? You said that it has been a long time and you really need to see me. I didn't dream it.
Alright, in the first time lapse you saw me reassemble the axle shaft and put the spindle back on. The second time lapse you saw me pack the rear bearing and put the new seal in. It's a little bit tricky when you don't have I forgot I had a 4x4 piece of wood. It makes it a little easier to disperse the blow of the hammer, because you have to hit basically like 4 sides of it in order for it to sink down. I just did this off camera here. We have our front wheel bearing all greased up. I'm going to drop it into the hub here and then get the hub back onto the knuckle here.
I wasn't myself. And when you flew back home, you lost your interest, didn't want to see me. I tried to move on. I spent the most of the entire year just boozing in the sunshine.
She was calling it quits. I popped the door open for a moment and she just found this to be home sweet home. Hi. You tired? Yeah. It's getting late. But we got work to do. People put a lot of hate on these kind of stacked blocks or imitation leaf springs. And I do not disagree. It rides like it's on cinder blocks. But with people saying that they break, they're unsafe, I'm not telling you to go out and buy this. This was $150 on eBay, and 18-year-old me thought it was a great idea. And it's held up. I had some custom U-bolts made at a local shop up in New England. So I'm just gonna leave it because it does level out the truck. It does sit even. Now that we have the entire driver's side complete, got the caliper back on. I just threw the lug nuts on for the meantime. I don't want to put the wheels and tires on just yet. We have some new 35s that are going to go on. We'll go about that a little bit later. Just moving over to the passenger side now. I've pulled off the hub. I have removed the bolts for the spindle. And I gave it a few taps already. And I think soaking this in penetrating oil is working in my favor because it's already getting a little loose. I'm sure I'm still have to do some pry bar action to get the spindle out, and then I can pull the axle shaft out, and then I'll work on getting the ball joints and the tie rod out. And I don't know if I'm still wanting to go for more. Alright, here we are. Back with a quick little update. Got the spindle off. Pulled the axle shaft out. Here she sits. All of its glory. This one's a little bit heavier. Gonna undo the steering linkage and take out the hardware for the ball joints and knock this knuckle out. We'll get it on the vise and press these ball joints out. Look at this tie rod end, just absolutely roached. Good thing we're replacing everything. I think if I get everything reassembled tonight, I'll drop the steering linkage and get that ready for the new stuff to get put on. It's pretty straightforward. You just got to put the adjusters off of the old setup onto the new setup, because the ones that I got from O'Reilly's, they swear by their name that these are the right ones, and let me tell you, they are not. They are extremely small. They almost look like they're for like a smaller pickup, but I'm not going to hassle with trying to find the parts where these are here, and honestly they're not in bad shape. I'll do a little cleanup of them and a little restoration, and they'll be good as new. But let's get this on the vise, let's get the tripod set up, and let's get some work done. This should just take a few more taps of the hammer and it should just come right out. Alright. And just like that, that's one ball joint out. That actually came out pretty good. I'll try to get in focus here. Hopefully I'm not too... Seems like the PB blaster seemed to have soaked through pretty well. That buzzing you hear in the background is a bug meeting its fate. But one out. It's cooking. Oh jeez. Anyways, it's cooking pretty good. No, the ball joint's still pretty warm, so I guess that got a little cooked too, just like this bug. Oh my fucking god. Yep, there you go. Alright. Well, alright, the ball joint's out. Great success. I'm going to move forward to the front one now and repeat the same step. I can turn it off. I can't turn it off without... Come on. Right. It's walking itself out, so let's finish it up. Sweet. And that's another ball joint out, and that's 4 for 4. And there it is. I got everything reassembled on the driver's side. So now it has brand new ball joints, it has axle shaft U-joints. Everything in the hub has been repacked with new grease. We're not done yet. My next step is I'm going to pull out the steering assembly. Get down on 4s here. Kind of give you guys a little bit of a look. I don't know how well you're going to see it, but really it's just the pitman arm holding up the steering linkage and this steering stabilizer, which I'm gonna take off completely and may or may not get a new one, all depending on how everything works afterwards. All right, I have the new steering assembly all put together. I think I showed you in the last clip the adjuster that was closer towards the top, or the pitman arm, came apart pretty easily. The one down below needed a lot of heat. Of course, that's the one that's going to be picking up a lot of the road grime and everything. So it was a little bit of a fight, but once I got everything loose, it worked out pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get this all together and get it into the truck. And just like that, front end is entirely complete. We got new tie rods, new steering linkage, new ball joints, axle shaft U-joints, and a good service to the hubs. Packed with fresh grease all around. Now that everything's put back together, I'm really happy how everything came together. We still have a lot of work left to do on the truck, but we might just leave you off with this here now that everything's been reassembled. Of course, there's some things in the future that we're going to work on. We may go in and just put new shocks in it, but right now the shocks are relatively new. They're about 2 years old. They just don't really look like it. But I think we're going to do some rust repair, or attempt rust repair. I may even start doing some videoing on that soon. And of course, we can't forget about our brand new tires over there. They're just they'll look better on the truck than they do sitting in a stack. And here's a little look into the engine compartment here. It's a diamond in the rough, that's for sure. The only work I'm not going to do to this truck is exhaust manifolds. It's too labor intensive. There's too many variables that could go wrong. And honestly, I'd rather just have someone else do it, and I'll just give them money for it. But everything else that we do to this truck will be done in this shop here, and you guys will just have to stay tuned for more videos.